Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny just released in theaters. This is the fifth and final Indiana Jones movie, so I thought it would be a good time to rank all the Indiana Jones movies from the worst to the best. Now, for reference, I watched all of these films for the very first time this year. Actually, I believed I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark once, like a very long time ago, but I forgot literally everything about it, so I didn't exactly grow up with these movies, and I don't have any nostalgia for them. So that's just some context. Yeah, let's just get into the ranking. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is still the weakest Indiana Jones movie. It's not as terrible as some people say it is, but I just didn't enjoy it that much. It had some decent stuff, like you can still feel some of that Spielberg magic in some fight scenes and moments. I really enjoyed the motorcycle car chase scene in the first half of the movie. There's a part in that where they crash into the middle of a library. So, that whole sequence felt more practical, which I liked. I also enjoyed some parts of the beginning, like when Indiana Jones has to hide from a nuke in the fake town. I thought that was fun, but the moment where he hides in the fridge and he gets launched 1,000 feet into the air and crashes into the ground, and then he just brushes that off, that was just way too silly for my taste. I didn't like that part. There are some good moments, but I just found the adventure to be very boring. The villain's motivation was very unclear, and the story slowed down way too much. The pacing was not very good. Also, Shia LaBeouf is pretty bad in this film. He has a very weak performance, and I found his character to be very annoying. The other new side characters are also pretty forgettable. Of course, the final act is just way too silly with the aliens and UFOs. It's not even exciting either. And the CGI has not aged well at all. It looks so outdated and fake, especially in the jungle fight sequence with the green screen and CGI animals, and then you have Shia LaBeouf's character just swinging around with monkeys, and it looks so bad. So yeah, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had some good aspects, but it also has the most problems out of all of these movies. Again, there's not a necessarily bad Indiana Jones movie, but this is the worst one. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is fine. It had some good stuff, but also some bad stuff. It was nice to see Harrison Ford again back on the big screen playing this iconic character. He still has the charisma. We get to see Indy in a brand new light and in the most broken state we have ever seen him in, so that was something new and interesting, and that also led to some emotional moments. The first 15 minutes were great and reminded me of a classic Indiana Jones adventure, and the third act, while going off the rails, was at least entertaining, but still, it's not even close to the same quality of the original trilogy. The adventure felt very forgettable and not very interesting. There are many points where I felt bored. It's just way too long. It does not justify its 2.5 hour runtime. Also, it's still super annoying that they have to add so much CGI to these fight scenes. It just makes the action scenes feel less exciting. The new side characters are very unlikable, and I don't know, this just feels like a generic modern blockbuster. It's a decent send-off to the character, but it has a lot of obvious flaws. I have a full review on my channel, so if you want more details on my thoughts for this film, check that out. Now, obviously, the original trilogy holds the top 3 spots for me, and it's really hard to rank them since they're all really good. I consider each film of the original trilogy to be great, and my ranking for this trilogy could change any day. So, in third place is Raiders of the Lost Ark, the original film that started it all. Again, just because it's in third place doesn't mean I don't like it that much, but I do enjoy the other films in the original trilogy a bit more. This movie is still great though. The action is amazing. There are so many great sequences, like the iconic opening, the fight in the marketplace, the fight on the airplane, the truck chase. What I really love about the original trilogy is that it uses practical stunt work and effects to make the action scenes more exciting, and it makes it feel more real. The characters are also very charming. Harrison Ford is just perfect casting for this character, and he has so many memorable lines and moments. The adventure feels exciting and big while not doing anything too silly to pull me out of the movie. It has a lot of fantasy elements, but it still feels grounded. Steven Spielberg is such a fantastic director, giving us some truly intense sequences, and the score by John Williams is amazing. I feel like my only main issue with this film is some pacing problems throughout the film. In some parts, I feel the story slows down and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and I wish that we could have jumped into the adventure quicker from the start. Still, this is a great adventure movie. It's one of the most iconic adventure movie of all time, and just what have I said about this movie that hasn't already been said? Go watch it. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is just so incredibly fun. It might be a hot take to place this one higher than Raiders, but this movie is just so entertaining. This actually feels like a standalone Indiana Jones adventure. Like Raiders and Last Crusade feel more grand and large with the Nazis and World War II, but I do appreciate this movie for not going into those stuff. It's the black sheep of the trilogy, and I love it for that. I found the story to be pretty interesting and the overall setting of the movie to be very mysterious. I think the opening sequence in this movie is my favorite out of the entire trilogy. Raiders might have a more iconic opening, but this opening action sequence is so fun and exciting, where you have Indiana Jones running through a crowd trying to reach this antidote while people are trying to kill him, and there's a part where he has to like roll a gong and run behind it like a shield. That whole sequence was so entertaining, but the main adventure is also just jam-packed with action set pieces. This is probably the movie with the most non-stop chaotic action in the entire franchise. I was never bored while watching this film. The third act is just phenomenal. You have the fight in the mines where Indiana Jones is fighting the guards, and then you have the minecart chase scene, and of course you have the iconic bridge sequence, which is one of, if not my favorite action set piece in the entire franchise. It's just so intense and well executed. Also, this movie is surprisingly dark. Like, there are some brutal deaths that I was not expecting at all, and when we get into the ritual stuff with people's hearts getting ripped out of their bodies, that was just really brutal. But still, even though this is easily the darkest and most gritty Indiana Jones movie, it manages to keep the same charm and energy of the other films in the trilogy. Also, this movie gave us Short Round, who is one of the best characters in this entire franchise. He's funny and memorable, and I like his bond with Indy. I wish he was in another movie after this, cough cough, Dial of Destiny. Lots of people have been saying that Willie was way too unlikable, and I can see your point, but I personally didn't get annoyed by her, and she plays off of the other characters well enough. This movie is such a blast, and I was debating on putting it at number 1, but there is one more Indiana Jones movie that I think is a tiny bit better. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is fantastic. It's such a great follow-up to Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it has all the great action set pieces and iconic moments that Raiders had, but it also does something new and interesting by throwing in Indy's dad, and we get to see this character in a new light. This is, in my opinion, the funniest movie in the entire franchise. There are so many great gags and jokes. Like, at one point, Indiana Jones literally meets Hitler, and Hitler autographs his dad's journal, so that was like peak comedy. But a lot of the humor comes from Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. They have so much chemistry and they play off of each other very well. I really do buy into their father-son relationship, and they have some great and funny moments with each other. Also, we get a small origin story for Indiana Jones in the opening sequence. It's probably my least favorite opening scene in the original trilogy, but I did enjoy it. It still has the fantastic action. The tank scene is really the standout here. It's the best action set piece in the entire movie. The music is still great. The directing by Steven Spielberg is still so solid. The adventure is still exciting. It's just an amazing Indiana Jones adventure. I really wish that they could have ended the franchise on this one, especially with that shot of Indy riding off into the sunset. So, yeah, that was my ranking of all the Indiana Jones movies. And after watching all of these movies, I can safely say that this is one of the best action adventure movie franchises of all time, despite the later installments. The original trilogy might be one of the best trilogies of all time, actually. I'm really happy that I was able to sit down and experience these movies for the very first time. So, yeah, thanks for watching and share your ranking of all 5 Indiana Jones movies in the comments. Bye.